coming to the ambulatory surgical centre. This is the project form, which is very wordy, so I won't talk too much about that. I'll move on to to go through the project itself. Next slide, please. So this is the background to our project. The ambulatory surgical centre is a fairly recently opened surgical unit. The aim of that unit is to reduce the time it takes to see, be assessed by a senior medic, a consultant surgeon, or senior surgical trainee to make a decision. And these are patients who are not necessarily acutely unwell enough to require admission to hospital, but these patients still need a rapid turnaround in their diagnostics and their management plan. So imaging is vital in this pathway, and we focused in this project on ultrasound. And that was really because of some of the teething troubles that the unit was facing with accessing ultrasound in a timely manner. Next slide, please. So these are the metrics we looked at really. The targets. There's six main targets, and I'll go through these. You can read them for yourselves. I'll go through these one by one as we go on. So next slide, please. So the first target was quality, requests for pelvic ultrasounds, which have declined. And this is a particular ultrasound scan for mainly young female patients who present with pelvic pain. And remember, these are patients who are not acutely septic or unwell and needing admission. So a lot of these patients were having scans requested that were outside of the department guidelines for a scan. And partly this was a communication problem. What we did was ensure that the guidelines were made up to date and also importantly made available to referrers so they knew where they were. But also we needed to look at an alternative pathway for these patients with pain who didn't necessarily need urgent imaging but did need some assessment. So to that end, work is ongoing with the gynecology team to create that alternative pathway. And you can see the figures at the bottom. While the percentage of rejections of scans, which was a defect, has stayed more or less stable throughout, actually the number of scans, and these time periods are all the same for a month that the data was collected over, the number of scans has reduced significantly. So while the percentage is the same, and this suggests to me that many of those referrals which would have been made previously incorrectly were not made, and so that is an increase in quality despite the numbers staying the same. Next slide, please. So another service metric, agreeing that patients are well prepared, and this is staff on the unit and in the ultrasound department, agreeing that patients are well prepared via a survey. And some patients need to be fasted, some patients need to have a full bladder, and that depends on the scan. They also need to know where they need to go for their scan and where and when they're going to get their results. Previously, patients were often not properly prepared. They may not have been clear on where the scan was or how the results were going to come back to them. So the team devised a patient information leaflet specific to each type of scan with the location of the scan, what they were looking for, and arrangements for results. And the sample size is unfortunately quite small, but you can see the satisfaction of the patients has increased. And anecdotally, the teams are feeding back that patients are much more satisfied with the service. Next slide, please. So leading on from that, patients need to report a good experience. Again, lack of clarity in the location and timing of scans. Double bookings, patients were often made double bookings. Referrals were made and booked on a calendar by the ASC team as well as on the radiology system. So there's a duplication of work, and duplication of work unnecessarily can lead to errors and double bookings. Next slide, please. So what we did was we trained the ASC staff on CRIS, which is the Radiology Information System. The admin staff can use that, and they can then go onto that system and see when scans have been approved. They can see any rejected scans immediately. That can be picked up and fed back to the patients. Often patients, or sometimes previously, they only found out a request had been rejected when they arrived for the scan, which is obviously not good for the patients. So that has almost been eliminated. Also, double bookings have been virtually eliminated. Again, small numbers in the feedback, but again, informal feedback from the patients and from the staff show a big improvement. Next slide, please. So finally, all the changes these have outlined have led to an improvement in collaboration between the teams, which improves morale. If you feel you're working well in a team, if you feel you're doing scans for a good reason, that they're impacting on patient outcomes, then you're going to be more satisfied in your work. And the staff rather in each team feeling that they get on well with the other team basically is significantly improved. And informally talking to the staff in ultrasound where I work, they feel it's much better now after this week. So next slide, please. So the outcomes that were successful in this week were that we decreased the request rate for a particular scan, pelvic ultrasounds, by improving the quality of the referral and education, making sure patients were prepared, and also feeding back any sort of negative or declined scans. This improved the patient satisfaction and the patient journey, and thereby improved team working and team satisfaction. Those are the outcomes that were good. The process, this was the first virtual RPIW, I think, in the trust, and we were planning to do an in-person RPIW, but at the last minute changed, and we show that can work. You need to have focused targets, and as with any RPIW, this is my first one, but you need to have focused targets. You need to have the teams engaged and wanting to make a change, and that's no different with a virtual process as to an in-person process. Challenges, probably with every RPIW, keeping momentum at the end of it. There's less physical crossover of team members between the different departments. We have struggled a little bit with gathering robust data, and part of that may be because of there was not really any time set aside after the week as a dedicated hour or 2 hours for catch up to dedicate tasks to people and ensure that robust data was collected. Those are minor points. I think overall it's been a successful week. And I'd like to thank the team members who are listed there. There was a lot of people involved. It took a team effort, and you go to the next slide, I'll take any questions, and this is just the target progress report in more detail.
Simon, that's great. Thank you very much. Excellent. If you don't mind, what we normally do at Report Out is take questions at the end. Yep. So just a couple more, if you could hang on, that'd be great, because I'm sure colleagues would want to ask questions. But really, really good progress, and really good to see the range of metrics that we're making progress on, and the range of colleagues that you involved in it, which is excellent. So well done. Now, the next part of Report Out, as always, a real pleasure, is to award Lean for Leaders certification to two colleagues. First of all, to Alison Parks, outpatient site manager at Chapel Allerton, Seacroft and Wharfdale hospitals. Alison, really well done. Tremendous effort. I imagine I'm giving you your Lean for Leaders certificate over the over the medium of Teams. Well done, brilliant job. And secondly, to Jill Chapman, our lead nurse for workforce projects in corporate nursing. Jill, brilliant, really well done. Same goes for you as well. I mean, both of you, I know how much work goes into getting Lean for Leaders certification, all the homework, all the understanding, all the engagement of your colleagues. So really well done to both of you. I was going to invite you both, if you wish, just to give the colleagues that Report Out any kind of reflections or comments on your experience of the Lean for Leaders program, maybe what you've learned or what you're applying, and anything you want to comment on. I can see Jill on screen. Hi, Jill. Did you want to offer some reflections?
So yes, thank you so much, Julian, and I know you know how hard it is, because we were on the same cohort, and it was nice to it was just nice to spend time with yourself and the other guys on the cohort, and the fact that people came in throughout the time as it flexed into their working. So there was very much a camaraderie. Everybody was really helpful. We had that what are your hopes and fears post-it cube, and everybody was really supportive of just basically everyone. And I would say the thing I use the most is when I'm approaching a new project or even a new group of people that I'm speaking to, I start off with the hopes and fears right at the very beginning, and it's amazing how that, particularly in a virtual situation, gets some energy into the room when there isn't a room. And as far as reflections on the course, it is a very detailed course. I know that they're changing the format a bit. There was a lot of work to do. It was interesting. Some of it was you developing skills that you may never use, but you're aware of, and you know where you can bring things in and out of your practice. But I think the thing that it's done for me, I actually, it sounds like I'm being really evangelical. I live the Leeds improvement method all the time. I'm looking for waste. I'm looking for adding value. I'm talking about batching. When I'm talking about lessons learned, or how could we do something differently, understanding people's concepts and the myths. It's such a broad, holistic approach that it's so easy to just bring into everyday life, and how that just I'm envisaging the triangle as I'm speaking about this, but how that actually does capture our vision as a trust, our goals, and absolutely working and demonstrating those values every single day. LIM actually just does glue it all together. That's what I would say. And if you've not done it, do it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jill. That's great. And I remember well when we were doing our various tasks right at the start of our Lean for Leaders program, going up to St James from the bridge and doing our measurements and so on, but really practical, hands-on, and as you say, great sort of team spirit amongst the cohorts. Excellent. Alison, anything you'd want to say?
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late. Busy as usual. I presume you're speaking to me and not another Alison. I've just literally
I am, Alison.
joined.
I don't know if you were on when I've sort of already said how well you've done and awarded you in a sort of virtual sense your Lean for Leaders certificate, and just invited you and Jill, we've heard from Jill, just to say anything you want really about your reflections on your experience doing Lean for Leaders, and what you feel you've learned, and how it's been.
So I started about 2 years ago. So COVID has evaporated lots of memories, hasn't it? So the very start of it, I remember it being quite time consuming and quite, oh crikey, I don't know if this is too much, but the more you do it, the more everything starts to sort of make sense, and you start to learn the language. But I found it really interesting, and they're definitely tools that I'm going to be able to use going forward. But I did mine on production board, and I cover 3 sites. I cover Chapel Out and Seacroft and Wharfdale in outpatient admin, and then found myself shielding. So trying to keep up to speed with the teams, not being able to see the production boards. We had the eureka moment of a production board on Teams. So it means that we can all link in and have that group chat on a morning to make sure we're all good to go for the day. So just it teaches you to adapt and work in different ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's great to hear you using the tools, and they've been really helpful, Alison. And Jill was saying exactly the same. It feels like now, having learned them, using the Leeds improvement methods, the sort of natural thing you turn to when you're dealing with an issue or a challenge. And did you get your team engaged in the work as well, Alison?
I did it with a colleague who unfortunately has moved on to radiology, so we didn't get to complete it together. But we worked with her team. And they were a little bit reluctant to start with, but once they knew that we weren't there to sort of watch what they were doing in detail, as to sort of criticise or, comment on what they were doing. It was about, what are you doing? Explain to us, let us understand so we can try and look at better ways, and what ideas have you got? Once they were on board, it was great.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much, Alison, and thank you, Jill. Excellent reflections, and really well done to both of you. So we've now got an opportunity for Q&A. So questions really for for Simon, for the KPO team on the work that's been going on the RPIW, on ultrasound, and indeed any questions for Alison or Jill in terms of their Lean for Leaders experience. So who'd like to kick off? I can see Helen and then Jimmy.
Hi, thanks very much, Julian. So just firstly, well done to our Lean for Leaders. I'll just get that in there before I ask Simon a question. Simon, I thank you for your presentation. I was really interested to hear and obviously see your results. Can I ask how it feels today in comparison to how it felt before you did this work? Because we've obviously done quite a lot of work before in SAU and then obviously now with the new unit. Does it feel different with this piece of work, or do we still have a lot to do in terms of getting that patient journey sorted?
I think we do have work to do, but some of the things we've done can carry on. It does feel different. The sonographers actually have a room in the department now where they go and scan. So that I think the main thing that's changed is really seeing themselves as part of the team, rather than, battling each other for fighting for scans. They try and work together more. I'm not sure I mentioned it, but there's work going on with the gynecology team to sort of shore up the pelvic pain pathway, which has been a problem for many years. And there's always been discussions, shall we say, between the two departments about these patients, and they need sorting out and they need assessing. But that work is ongoing. The other thing I'd say is ultrasound is obviously a fairly small part of, it's a big part of radiology, but it's not the whole of radiology. I think the lessons we've learned from this could certainly improve some other areas. CT scanning is the other big modality in that area, but other modalities across the trust as well.
Thanks for that. It'd be really interesting to see what areas, that the adaptability of what you've learned can be spread across the trust, because obviously your results speak for themselves today, which is really positive. Thank you for that.
The main thing for me, just to say, is just communication. It's always communication, but just the two teams getting together and talking to each other. And we both have the same problems, but we're just looking at them from different angles.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Helen. Simon, Jimmy.
Thanks, Julian. Answered the question I was going to pose, Simon, around the sort of spread potential of some of the concepts there. So I also want to offer my thanks both to you and to our certified lean leaders. So thank you to you for your commitment to this event. We did run it virtually at a really short notice, and I think the team just got on with that and committed to it. And I think there's some really positive work out of it, as you've outlined. And also, as Helen alluded to as well, that there's some ongoing challenge for us with the patient journey. I'm going to call out the lead time here. So the time it takes to get the information to our patients, the lead time hasn't changed significantly, despite the hard work of the teams there. So I think there's more to go out there, and this report out space is about celebrating success. It's also about calling out where we've got opportunity. That's not directed at you directly at all, but I think it's worth surfacing that this is an area where we've got good opportunity to go for more, as well as opportunity. You mentioned CT there, spread it. So there's a thank you to you and the team there for the hard work, and KPO wise, certainly commit to support any ongoing effort to scale up and spread and look at how we can continue in this space. So want to offer that, so thank you. And also I've worked with both Jill and Alison throughout their journey of lean leaders over the last couple of years. It's always brilliant to see people get over the line. But I think I'm going to say more importantly, and I've said this to both of them sort of offline as well, it's less important about how long it takes you and more important about how you sort of take on board those concepts and how you're using them. And eventually the certificate will come, but perhaps the amount of work they've done and using the method along the way doesn't come through here. And I want to call that out because I've worked with both of them in terms of hearing how they've kept going on with this stuff and really work with their teams to use the best of the concepts wherever they can. So well done to both of you. It was only a matter of time, but what's more important is how you've taken it on board and used it. So kudos for that. Thank you.
Great. Well said, Jimmy. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Hi, Julian. Thank you. Hi, Simon. I just I was about to leave because I've got another meeting to go to, but thank you, Simon, from myself as matron for Ambulatory Centre and SAU for the improvement work that you've done. And just to touch on Helen's point, I think although the lead time may not have actually changed significantly, and as Jimmy highlighted, there's some work to do there, the patients and the feedback that we're getting from those patients is vastly improved now with the whole service, and the fact that the radiographers in the department I think has massively helped that experience overall, and the patients feel like it's a very lean journey.
Elizabeth, that's a really, really strong point, isn't it? And ultimately this is why we do this, isn't it? To add value to the patient's experience. So well said, and that's really good to hear. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, then it's just before 1. Thank you very much, Simon. That was really good. And please pass our thanks on to the whole team involved in this. Really good progress. And I'm sure you're keen to drive it further forwards as well, and build on the momentum and the platform you've created. Well done again to Alison and Jill. And thank you everyone for attending. Really good report out. See you same time next week. Thanks very much, everyone. End of report out.